What's going on? It's your girl Nico with T2K Pronto, and it is time to connect. And we're here with me. I have a guest. I want you to start us off by please introducing yourself and let us know where you're from.
I'm Inglewood TIP, from Inglewood, California, by way of the East Side. Yeah.
Welcome. I was just going to say.
I am Inglewood.
I was just about to say, like, it's in the name, so I could kind of guess where you from, what's on you, what you put on your back. Shout out to Inglewood, because, you know, I'm over there on eucalyptus and kelso. You know where that's at.
Yeah. Come on, I know the whole city. I done lived all around it, so yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Tip, I want you to tell me, what does Inglewood mean to you? Because I even read in your bio that you was given the name Inglewood Tip. What does Inglewood mean to you?
Man, it's home. I try to tell people I was there before a lot of stuff that's there now, you know what I mean? And definitely there before a lot of the changes that are going on with the stadium and all that stuff. But it's home for me. I'm the type of person, I'm not afraid to leave and move around. I've lived a few other places, but if you can't go home, you ain't got nothing. So I got that name out of town, doing what I was doing at the time.
Doing what he do.
The same way they started calling Boston George on the movie Blow.
Okay.
That was me, because I always spoke about my city. I always speak about it everywhere I go. So, people, like a real Inglewood person is not gonna tell you they're from LA. They're gonna tell you they're from the Inglewood. So they heard about it so much, so they just start calling me Inglewood. And my nickname from my neighborhood is Tiptoe, so we shortened it to. People call me Tip, so we shortened it to Inglewood Tip.
Got you.
My first rap name was Tiptoe the Boss. And that was given to me also.
Yeah.
Because I started my own label.
Okay.
And I was just in the CEO mind frame all the time, so they called me Tiptoe the Boss. But I kind of switched it up to go with the story I tell in my music.
Got you. You made it make sense. Connected the dots.
Exactly.
Okay, well, now with your grind and everything, you started in the streets, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then, of course, like you already kind of mentioned, you obviously ventured into music.
Yep.
So can you, tell me about that transition, going from that hustle to, getting into an industry and starting a career for yourself?
Yeah. It was kind of hard for me. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not
gonna lie.
I'm not. Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. I'm that person that definitely likes to. I'm not the prototypical. I was doing this. I got a record deal and I switched. That's not what happened for me. I keep it real with you. I quit doing music a bunch of times for different reasons. One, I didn't see any money in it at first. I used to have people try to tell me to rap. So when I first got into the game, I started a label for my brother and his friend. They rapped.
Okay.
I hadn't touched the studio.
Bet.
For good reason. That reason being, I didn't know any rappers with money.
Gotcha.
I had homies that rapped or whatever. They were signed to certain people, but they're wearing my jewelry to video shoots or borrowing money from me to fly out of town to go to videos and shows, and it didn't make sense to me.
Right.
Once I started the label for my brother and stuff, it was me and my other cousin, and we had a house in Gardena. Their mom moved to Tennessee, so she left us a house. We had a studio in the house. I had been in the studio once with one of my best friends, Smack Ree. He forced me to get on the song. We did 2 songs that night. I got good feedback. So we had the studio set up at the crib. And I had all these artists signed to my label. Not really signed, but I was putting some money behind them.
Okay. I'm like, let me find out it's giving Suge Knight.
But I had a bunch of artists, and they didn't have the work ethic that I had.
Gotcha.
So my relative and I, we were co-CEOs of the label. We both ended up rapping.
Yeah.
Because niggas wasn't coming to the studio and working like we were doing. So that's how I kind of got into it. Like I said, I stopped a bunch of times for different reasons. One, back in the day, you had to press up CDs. It ain't like now just putting a video up on
that
YouTube.
internet, right?
Yeah,
you ain't
it
got
was
that
different.
power.
You had to get in the street. So I was spending a lot of money on that shit, pressing up CDs, and you know, it was more expensive to press up T-shirts, and like I said, I got 30 niggas with me, so that shit was killing me. So I'm like, y'all ain't gonna work. I'm cool.
Cut the dead weight.
Then to fast forward, it's a lot of dudes that I helped. I ain't gonna say no names, but it's a lot of dudes that I helped get to where they are. They didn't do what I would have done in the situation as far as reaching back and that
Paying
type
it
of stuff.
forward, right.
So, you know, it made me feel like, oh, there ain't no real niggas in the game. It's not for me. So I'm gonna go back to the streets. And eventually, you know, I just got tired of doing what I was doing. The game changed. Certain stuff that wasn't accepted is accepted now.
It's different now.
People snitching and
Right.
you know just all the backdoor stuff that goes on. So I'm like, this ain't really for me. I was in the middle of one of those situations. I ended up doing some other stuff that I didn't really do, but I was out of town. I had to get some money. In the process, I'm in a hotel room. One of my young homies, he had been making beats since he was like 13, 14. He had sent me some beats a few months prior to that. They were just sitting in my email.
Yeah.
I'm in a hotel hustling, bored. Like, let me go through these beats. There's some fire in there.
Yeah.
So I ended up, that became the first EP I released in 2017, the 7108 EP,
Okay.
which represents the hospital room my uncle died in. So from there, I got great feedback on that. And I ain't looked back since.
It seems like, first of all in life, like you think you got it figured out, what you gonna be doing with yourself, and then God,
We ain't
he
in
come
control.
through, right? He come through and he like, now he reminds you. But it seems like, you've been able to carry yourself with your music and the success with that through your truth.
Definitely.
Like, it seemed like your life definitely still paid it forward for your music career to where it's like it inspired and allowed you to create some good work.
Definitely.
That has carried you in the music industry. Would you say?
Yeah. I mean, like my story is my music.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is, I ain't no idiot.
Yeah.
So I know about statutes, limitations, and all that stuff. So I'm just getting to a point to where I can really talk about certain things. But there's also certain things I won't talk about because I got partners that are still active.
Right.
I'm not about to, blow up the game for what they doing and, just because it sounds good in the rap. So I still respect the streets.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
you found your lane.
There is no Inglewood TIP, the artist, without Tip in the streets. My niche, to me, if you ask me, is just the details that I put in my music because I really lived it.
Exactly.
It's not me, watching someone else do it or watching movies. Like I did it. I grew up around it. And yeah, I made some mistakes. I had some successes, some failures, and I put it all in there.
Yeah. And there's a lot of power in that. There's
For
a lot,
sure.
I'm sure, that you probably haven't seen, but I'm sure there's a lot of impact in lives that you probably have touched and changed through your truth.
100%.
Like, which is always like, it's bittersweet. It's like, yeah, being in the streets is some things that you do that you probably aren't proud of, but at the same time, like when you get control of yourself and your life and you do something about it, like, you make something out of that and don't just, be consumed and fall into that black hole, but, turn it positive and then like, now you looking up and you got people following you got people doing better because of your story. Like, ain't that crazy how it could just impact like others? Like, it's like bittersweet. It's like, damn, like I did some shit, but it created some good things. Like, also, it created a good blossom or a good, like a good consequence, like as far as what came out of that for others to use.
And I agree with you on that because like the way I live my life, I don't believe in good or bad. I think every situation is neutral.
I feel that.
In a sense, like the worst thing that it could be something that you feel like is the worst thing that ever happened to you.
Yeah.
But you look up a year down the line and you're like, oh shit, like
It's
this
actually the best thing.
And one example I use, I said this in another interview I did before. Like take someone like 50 Cent, who shot 9 times.
Yeah.
If you would have came to him in the hospital and said, "Man, it's the best thing that ever happened to you." He'd have looked at you like it was crazy, but it was.
Cause look at now.
It changed his voice. It gave him, most importantly, his story.
His niche.
Because he was already signed, he was already rapping, but
Yeah.
this made him the 50 Cent that we know, and that comes from him being shot. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So stuff that we look at as happening to us are usually happening for us.
100%.
But we just don't know it.
100%. And that's when it all comes down to your perspective. Like,
Yep.
I just be thinking about this, and I feel like I'm sure I heard it somewhere too. But life is like about perspectives. It's always, you could look at everything, and have a perspective on it, and it could, determine how you feel or what good could come out of it. It just all depends on how you look at it, and that's just like looking at the glass half full rather than half empty.
100%.
We're gonna give y'all a little preaching over here, okay? Now, what is a moment? Like, can you share a moment or a time that contributed to that, like that turnaround for you, to where it opened your mind, or just changed your mind as far as like wanting to change your ways, change your habits, and do things differently, that ended up being better for you? Is there like a life changing moment that you want to share?
I mean, I won't say this changed me immediately, but so just imagine this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
doing my thing. I come home for the holidays around Christmas. One of my friends I grew up with, so my dad is from Ghana, have an African last name.
Okay.
So
Ghana.
it stands out. If people see it, they're like, they gotta be related to me.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So my homegirl called me and it's like, asked me, do I know this person? I'm like, yeah, that's my dad's name. Now mind you, I didn't grow up with my father.
Okay.
But he did do something for me. I caught a serious case when I was younger, and one of his friends was an attorney, won my appeal for me, and that's how I got out.
Gotcha.
So, I don't have the relationship with my dad, but I respect what he did for me. But anyway, she asked me, do I know this person? I'm like, yeah, that's my dad's name. So she's like, well, I got to come talk to you. So she asked me this actually when I was still out of town. So when I got back here, she pulled up on me at the crib, showed me some paperwork in which my dad was on the indictment.
Okay.
A major indictment, like they made $176 million over 10 years. Now, I don't know none of this about my father. Like, my dad is a doctor. He's a genius. Speaks 7 languages.
Wow.
An exceptional athlete. Like, crazy. So
Cold. Got a cold little lineage right there.
I'm like, damn, like, he was fucking with drugs. Like, it
Yeah.
fucked me up. So, once, I kind of started looking into the situation, and from there, I jumped on Facebook.
Yeah.
I looked up my last name. I came across a woman. I sent her a message. She didn't respond, but my brother responded to me. Never met her.
Okay.
So since then, this is like 2009, 2010. So since then, I've just been on a journey of like self-discovery. You know what I'm saying? And in doing that, a lot of stuff that I was doing and that I was into, that wasn't really me.
It wasn't fitting. It wasn't aligned.
Nah, it wasn't. So that's kind of the beginning of my transition out of the streets and into other stuff. And I figured out that I can make the same money doing legal things, but by using the same hustle and principles.
Right. Applying that same thing.
Yeah,
to
it's the same thing.
right
It's just
track.
a different product.
Yeah. Damn, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Like, because usually, not like that, but usually the story of, someone not having their parents in their life, like, it's just that. But it's like, this is different. It's like he played a role, maybe even though
From a distance.
Exactly, and then it's just like, it just paid forward to where you are now. Like, that's dope. That's dope.
I mean, and shit, he doing time right now. Like, he's doing 27 years. He's 11 years in on that. So, and the relationship is still, what it is. It's not great, but I've spoken to him several times, and in this time I've lost my brothers.
Okay. I'm sorry.
So yeah, it's all good, but yeah, it's, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Through all of this, I've met a whole nother side of my family that I'm
That's
very
dope.
close to now, and I'm able to bring my son around them and all that type of stuff. So it's just like that was the main part of my transition out of the streets.
Yeah. And let's definitely acknowledge the fact that I'm sure it wasn't easy. Like, like there could be resentment there, right? There can be a bitter type of attitude to where you probably could have rejected that
For sure.
invitation to that. But you having the perspective that you have on your life and on things, to be able to be open to something like that, I think that that's definitely worth acknowledging because, people be hurt. I know you fucking lied. We was
It's
getting
all
in the
good.
stuff.
It's real TV.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's real rap. This real rap, y'all.
But yeah, a younger me probably would have rejected that.
Right.
I had a bunch of resentment for my dad. I didn't understand, why he wasn't around.
Yeah.
But he kept up with me through a friend I went to school with, middle school and high school. My dad was friends with her mother, so he kept up with me through them.
Got you.
Which is how he knew I had gotten in trouble that one time, twice. Got in trouble that he found out about. So
that's dope.
As I got older, had my own son, I started to understand why he wasn't around for me. I don't condone it or agree with it, but I get it. And it is what it is. Yeah.
Understanding and grace will take you
For
a long way, man.
And our parents are human.
Right.
We look at them as these superheroes sometimes, and they should have had it all together, but that's not realistic.
Right, because you really you really learn, like, age, you going to be wiser with age, but sometimes it's like you still don't have it all figured out, like you said, when you're older. Like, it's a journey all through life. Yep. Like, every age, you're learning.
For sure.
Okay,
never
education is key. Period. And okay, I have to drop that, but
it is.
but yeah. So, what is something like? Because you already been dropping advice like through what you've been sharing and explaining. But what is some advice that you will want to give to someone who comes from a similar background, or has a similar story as you, that they can take with them. That you may not have received at the time and you got later, like that advice or message.
And I got two huge nuggets. The first one, don't let your older homies misuse you and send you into doing crash dummy shit. And like be mindful of the difference in somebody trying to help you and somebody trying to keep you at the level where they are. Gotta be mindful of that. Because I'm not a person that's gonna tell any youngster. I don't know. A situation might be that dire to where they got to get out here and get it. I'm not gonna tell you not to, but I'm also gonna be the one to tell you, do it for 2 years, do it for 3 years, but stack your bread. Don't go to the club. Don't buy the car.
Come on.
Tell them. Really do something with your money, and you'll never have to do that again, let alone work for anybody. You know what I'm saying? So that's the first one.